You know,
All right. Welcome back to the Shock Drop Podcast, and I'm your host, Chris, and I'm joined by my co host, Azeem. In this week's episode, we've got some interesting topics to go over, including the latest updates from Nike and Tom Sachs with their recent controversy. We'll also be talking about Nike's recent call out of Zadeh Kicks and StockX for selling counterfeit sneakers on their platforms, and we'll be diving into the issues of fake sneakers and what we can do to combat that. Lastly, we'll be taking a closer look at the corporate reselling of the sneaker industry and the impact that it has on sneakerheads and collectors. It's a very controversial topic that's been making headlines lately, and we're excited to share our thoughts and insights. Don't forget to subscribe to our YouTube channel and follow us on Spotify or Apple Podcasts. To make sure to stay up to date on all of our episodes, we're also on Instagram, and you can keep up to date with us on there. Let's go ahead and jump in, but just before we start, Kyle, our other co host, is unfortunately not with us this week. He is on vacation. So this week it'll just be me and Azeem. So Azeem, are you ready to get started?
yes, sir.
So I guess the first thing that we had on our list for today was something that you actually brought up, which was Kyrie. And I didn't even think about this when he tweeted that very controversial link to a video. Nike dropped him so fast. But the recent update with Tom Sachs, Nike's just kind of reached out to Tom Sachs and said publicly that really they're deeply concerned of the various serious allegations. We're in contact with Tom in his studio seeking to better understand this situation and how these issues are being addressed. And it even got the wind of Jerry Lorenzo, who commented on Complex's post saying the luxury of a chance to be understood. What do you think about that?
Yeah, I mean, like, obviously, Jerry was kind of insinuating it's like a race thing, but I think, like, there was the big difference. Kyrie, like, actually tweeted himself. With Tom Sachs, it was allegations, although they were, like, horrible allegations. We kind of still have to give him some benefit of the doubt and do an investigation.
Yeah, it definitely did not help Kyrie, I think, in any way tweeting that on his public account. It'd be different if he, talked about it or something, but direct link is definitely not going to help his case there.
Yeah, I
And I think
definitely.
Tom Sachs, we only got one picture, uh, right? I
Yeah,
think that
with the
was the only,
swastika.
yeah, which is not a good picture.
Yeah.
But I guess we don't really know when that was taken or anything, which is already pretty alarming. Um,
The thing I will say is I'm surprised they canceled Kyrie and they won't cancel Tom Sachs because I feel like Kyrie makes them more money than Tom Sachs because
yeah,
think
for
of how many
sure.
models he has.
And there's so many other, if we think about all the canceling that's going on, right? We had the Olympics with Shakaria Richardson, I think that was her name, the runner who was supposed to compete in the Olympics and got denied because of testing positive for marijuana. And Nike stood by her and was okay with that. Then we've got John Morant, recently been in the club. He was, showing off with a gun, may or may not have traveled on the team plane with it. But Nike stood by him. They didn't do anything. It is very strange that they didn't try to stand by Kyrie in any way. They just immediately dropped him.
Yeah.
I,
And let's not forget Travis. Like after Astroworld, like everything was kind of on the down low. And for like, I don't know, how long was it? Did they wait to release a new model or
I think it
colorway?
maybe 3 months.
Yeah, exactly. But they eventually just brought it back, right?
Yeah, I mean
So
they really just postponed everything.
yeah, so we'll see what happens with the Tom Sack case. If it's like we see any more like proof, then maybe Nike will actually cut him off.
Yeah, otherwise, I agree. I think if these just stay as allegations, I'm not really sure Nike will really see any reason to try to cut him off, right? If there's not really any public force to it besides just the court of public opinion, they may not see any reason to cut him off. Do you
Yeah.
think it'll be a while before we get the next colorway?
Oh, 100%. Like uh at least 3 to 6 months. Like even before they were releasing the colorways and like we were saying like every quarter, like just one a quarter.
Hmm.
So maybe we'll just skip one and then go to the next.
Yeah, probably a good idea, honestly. I think I'm trying to think what the next ones were. There was that
It
green
was the
hemp
gray one.
colorway. Oh, there was a gray one. Yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah, that would have been interesting. Um, yeah. What do you think would happen, I guess, with Nike if they keep, I guess, killing off all their collaborators? Do you think they're just going to keep canceling
Yeah.
left and right, or do you think they'll at some point
I mean,
stick by everybody?
we saw them stick by with the Olympic athlete for marijuana, right? And it's like
Yeah, Shikaria.
I don't want to say that like athlete collaborations have like gone down in popularity, but it's like I feel like collaborations with the big boutiques like Ama Manier, Kith, and stuff like that have like gained more value. So I feel like they're kind of banking on those more. So I mean, they won't cut them all off, but they're not as worried and as it would have been in like 2010, right?
Yeah, I mean that's a really good point. I feel like the Alma Meniers have actually overshadowed some of the recent Travis Scott releases. Not the ones, right? But like the Air Maxes.
Yeah,
Um,
exactly.
yeah, definitely. Yeah, that's a good point. And I remember when Adidas used to do those back in like 2016 with those boutiques, and they used to be so nice when they did like quality shop collaborations.
Yeah,
Yeah,
too bad Adidas is terrible at marketing their collaborations now. We had the
yeah,
consortium, but barely heard anything about it.
yeah. That was disappointing. Didn't get any notifications until the very end. Yeah, I think they could have had something there, but disappointing.
Yeah, but I
But
think going back to the topic, the store collaborations like add more value to Nike because I feel like they have a better design sense and are able to like create like a more unique product than say some athlete just because
yeah,
they're
it's
more
kind of like
into it.
a local outreach almost.
Yeah, exactly.
Um, Especially for I think Alma Manier and some of those normally do an in-store event for all of their releases too, don't they? I know Undefeated
Yeah,
does, and I knew
yeah,
one person who uh, I think he has a picture on Undefeated's either social pages or on their website of picking up a pair of the Kobe. Um, man, I can't think of what I think it was the Protro 6.
yeah. The
But he
protos.
Yeah, the protos. But he used to get every Kobe from Undefeated, and they knew him, so he would be able to go in and like he could always talk to him, and he got that experience of a local store. Yeah, and I definitely think that's a much better experience than just having, like just LeBron slap his name with Liverpool onto another shoe, right?
Yeah.
Yeah,
I
those
mean,
those ones are definitely not moving anymore.
what do you think about the Kyrie SpongeBob collaboration?
I actually really liked some of those. I really liked some of them. Some of them, like the SpongeBob one, were definitely out there, and like it's not one that I would wear. But I did, I liked the concept of the design and the whole collection. There was a couple of them I did actually like, and I'm trying to think of which one it was. Maybe it was the pineapple, or maybe it was Patrick. I can't remember which one. But I did like he did the cereal ones too, didn't he?
Oh, I think so.
'Cause I have a Lucky Charms T-shirt that's like a
Yeah, he
Nike
did.
Kyrie T-shirt, and like I really
Yeah.
like those ones. Um, yeah, that was one thing. He had so many collabs like that I thought were really cool.
Yeah, that was the good thing about Kyrie models. It was like they had better collabs, I feel like. But
They had a lot of collabs. It's
yeah,
almost like what Puma's trying to do with um Lamelo, right? With like Rick and Morty,
yeah,
trying to go out there with collabs, trying to get some kind of demographics that you wouldn't normally see in sneaker
yeah.
collabs.
I'm surprised they haven't done more with LeBron's because they had the one Kith collab, but I don't remember hearing anything else.
The equality ones.
The LeBron Kith,
Yeah. I think that's what
yeah,
that was. The 15s?
yeah,
I
it was the
think that's
15s.
I think that's what it was. Yeah, those were pretty cool actually. Where they were all like embroidered, right, with like roses and
Yeah,
stuff. Those are really cool. Yeah, and the recent LeBron collabs on that new one are just like soccer collabs, which somebody told me he has a stake in Liverpool, so
yeah.
that was
So that's
that
probably
was
why.
why. Yeah. But I don't really see any. soccer basketball collaboration fans, I guess. Like,
Nike's really trying to get those soccer fans, I guess.
yeah, there's almost to a point where I think that that's too much collaboration, right? I don't think Nike's ever done a three-way collab well, besides
I
the
mean,
Travis Fragment
yeah, I was about to just
Jordans,
say, like,
right?
what do you think about that one?
Besides that, like otherwise, I think most of the other ones tend to not do very hot.
Yeah, I mean, like, I think they're
My
good
big
in
one, I
like,
guess, that I think about is all the clot collabs.
yeah, in moderation, I think they're good, but like, I would like to
The
see
first
better
few I
ones.
liked. Yeah, I'm not a fan of a lot of the recent ones. Um, yeah, Union has some
Yeah,
questionable designs recently, but I do like their spirit and trying something new.
yeah. I'll forgive them if they release another Jordan 1 high.
Yeah, yeah, I'm excited for to seeing that. Hopefully this year. No samples are out yet, but that'll be an
No.
interesting one to see.
But yeah, I think we're all kind of like need a break from collabs a little bit just because they've been so overdone in general.
Yeah, definitely. But okay, so here's another. We're moving into our next story, I guess. So Sock Jig on Twitter actually got an exclusive with the reseller who got involved with the Nike and StockX lawsuit. And this reseller bought a bunch of pairs off of StockX, and he bought a bunch of pairs of shoes that were in high demand and were selling pretty well, but had dropped in price a little bit. So he went and nabbed a bunch of pairs, and then ended up that 38 of them, it looks like, were fake. And what I thought was really interesting is that the three shoes really that he went for, the ones that Sockjig pointed out, were Nike only products or Air Jordan only products, right? It's not a collab or anything. It was the Mocha ones, the um, not the Turbo Greens. It's like the Turbo
It was
Blues,
Union, yeah, something like that, and then University
Hyper
Blue. It
Royal
was
ones.
Hyper Royal, yeah.
Yeah, yeah, and the University Blues. Yeah, and like, yeah, I mean, like, it wasn't even like a collab shoe or anything like that. I would have figured it would have been like something a little bit more noticeable, but they go for the most basic high demand shoe, I guess. Do you think
Well,
that's safe to buy on those platforms now if you try to get
I
those
mean,
like regular shoes?
I think if it's like a big release like that, like a Jordan 1 like Mocha or something, like as well as this far past the release, they have so many fakes in circulation that it's like not safe. I
Yeah,
mean,
it's crazy, especially with those.
we had so many rumors of StockX like passing fakes. And I think with the Jordan 1 specifically, like they've had so many models over the year that the fake producers have like perfected it basically.
Yeah, and I
And we've
mean,
had
we've been around for years, and back when we started, I don't think the reps were good, but they weren't this good, and now they're just so close to perfect.
yeah, exactly. I mean, like we've had people say that the Panda Dunk fakes are better quality than the real ones.
Yeah, exactly. That was going to be my other point. Was with some of these releases, right? These are not collabs, so they are going to be in higher quantities, and just like the pandas and stuff, we're more likely to, or I mean, really, with these elephant print threes, what am I thinking of? The white cement threes. Um,
Yeah.
the QC issues were all over the place, and like, are we really even able to tell the differences anymore between that? Does Nike care?
Yeah, it kind of reminds me of the Cartier bracelets, the love bracelets. Like the fakes have gotten so good that like they won't even authenticate them
Oh,
if you bring it
really?
into the store. Yeah, so I feel like it's maybe it'll get to that point where Nike's just like, we don't really care anymore. We're dropping this. Like, buy from whoever you want and hope for the best.
I'm I guess my theory behind this, on a lot of people in the comments and stuff about this, are, it's very strange that Nike's not pointing out anything. They're just saying StockX has fakes and they bought fakes from them. And they went to
Yeah,
this guy, they said they found fakes, but they didn't take the shoes from him or anything. They just left him with the guy to like get a refund from StockX. So like, my
yeah,
theory behind it is that they don't really care to like tell people, because their end goal is that they want you to only buy directly from them, right? Not buy from resellers and stuff. But I think their goal with this is to kind of just stunt some of these shops that are getting almost bigger than like some people are getting to the point where you don't buy shoes on Nike anymore. You just buy them on StockX because you won't have a chance on Nike.
Yeah, definitely. It's like if you're like a casual like sneaker fan, like you're not like following the every drop and you're just like, oh, I missed it completely. I didn't even know it existed. You're just gonna go to StockX directly, right?
Yeah, or
So
go browse your local store, right? I mean, that's your only
yeah.
option.
But
Or
I mean
yeah,
like
some other online platform, anything.
I feel like it hurts Nike more than like does them good because like then the people find out that they get fakes and they're kind of like disappointed and they're kind of pushed away from the sneaker hobby.
Yeah, I guess that's a good point. Of it would kind of negate people wanting to even keep collecting if they get fakes. Um,
Yeah,
yeah, that's a good point.
and I
I
think
know
you made a
some
point
people
of.
at least. Oh, go ahead.
Oh, sorry. I think you made a point. It was like the casual sneaker fan like really can't authenticate these shoes like that well, right? Like even
Yeah,
now we're saying like the quality control is so bad that like most people in sneakers like us probably might not even be able to tell.
yeah. I mean, if someone brought to you probably like the top tier fake that's out right now, and like the worst quality QC shoe that Nike will give out publicly, it's probably going to be a toss up on trying to figure that out, unless you just want to assume that the worst quality shoe is always the real one, right? Um,
Yeah, exactly.
that's almost what it is at this point. And I know we had somebody in House of Cards that they showed a picture of their recent Panda that they just hit on sneakers, and the swoosh looked like somebody had taken scissors and like just ribbon cut their swoosh. I mean, it was so poorly done. I don't know if they even really care for keeping it up at this point. If people are just gonna keep buying them.
Yeah, exactly. And I mean like everyone made a big deal of when StockX changed from authenticated to verified, but do you think it really matters at this point?
I think it's slowly going to start mattering. I think with this case going on, I think that's Nike's hope is that it'll push people away. And did you see Scott Cutler on the Complex podcast? Um,
No.
so he went on and he was talking about it, and I went on specifically just to like listen about how he formatted his answers on like the questions that they asked. And one of the questions was they asked, oh, you guys changed it from StockX authentic to verified. And he said, oh, well, if you think about it, our process is more than just authenticating. We're verifying all the items that are in there. And he basically just PR'd it, right?
Yeah, it seems like a
But
very corporate answer.
yeah, but the overall statement is that, basically Nike probably got them in a corner to where they said if they can't 100% prove that they're, authenticating it, they can't claim that. And that's why they had to change it to verified, because that's basically just a generic term that makes it sound good enough. But I mean, what is a verified what? Like it's a verified sneaker? Like that doesn't really mean anything. Unless you can like kind of emphasize that you're making sure that it's a verified, authentic product, right?
Yeah, exactly. And I mean, like, earlier in the lawsuit, StockX tried to ask Nike, it was like, how are you authenticating these? Or like, wasn't that part of it as well?
I think they tried to. They tried to do every. I think each of them in the very beginning really tried to like push each other to try to get them to like force information out, because that's where it gets really deadly. Of where like if they force some stuff into deposition and stuff, then I think like all of that stuff becomes like public sometimes.
Yeah,
And that's
exactly.
that's where they really don't want that stuff becoming public to everybody, which I get, which is why Nike's doing this more as like a big brother tactic than I guess a legal push.
Yeah, actually trying to like push StockX to like pay something. I mean,
Yeah, and
there was
it's
also,
interesting that
oh,
they're
sorry.
doing this too when they've worked with StockX before.
Yeah,
Like
exactly.
they've done drops and raffles and stuff through them before. I mean, they just did the Oregon 8 auction through Goat. It's still very surprising that they're going this hard against them.
Yeah, I guess they're trying to like just tell them don't push your luck.
Yeah,
But there's also another
maybe they
part
just became
of
a
this.
threat.
Yeah. apparently some of the pairs were from Zadeh Kicks that were fake, right? That was
Yeah,
brought
that
up
was.
somewhere in this.
I don't know if that came from. Here, let me see if I can pull it up real fast. It says the last pile of counterfeit goods at issue we're aware of at this point are those that were purchased by a company called Zadeh Kicks. So I think that he bought them from StockX and they were fakes.
Wow.
So
I was gonna say, how
one
did they like connect the dots?
so what they probably did was they got a hold of his StockX account. He had to turn it over.
Oh,
They
really?
I think somebody found his public profile on StockX. So you can see people's portfolios. And
Oh
he
yeah,
was
yeah, I
like
remember this.
one of the highest ranked people that was there. And he was doing like these crazy like moves and stuff like that. So they got a hold of his StockX account. So they can definitely track, what he bought from where at least. I'm hopefully right if he was doing his stuff right, he's got the receipts from StockX in each one, so he knows as soon as he opens the box or whatever where it came from. Otherwise, maybe he's got it sorted. But either way, right? That's how they probably went through when the FBI was going through their stuff. Nike was like, "Oh, these are actually not real." That kind of leads into a bigger whole issue of, well, Zayd Kicks, if he was buying his pairs off StockX and StockX can't even authenticate it, was Zayd Kicks, even really sure he was selling fully authentic shoes the whole time?
Yeah, it just like goes into a butterfly effect of like, okay, how many fake pairs are in circulation now?
Yeah, not to mention everybody who, all the plugs and stores and everybody who was plugged in because of Zayd Kicks and who
Oh
was
yeah,
secretly, right? They were all running their business through him. They just didn't tell anybody. And then once he got locked up, they got, you know, their bridges died out.
yeah. It's a crazy scenario, but it's like I think we've talked about this before. It's like if these pairs are basically being produced in the same factory or pretty close, it's like what makes one authentic and one fake, and like how much do you care?
Yeah, to the general consumer, probably nothing. I mean, that's why it seems like most of them have almost kind of stopped really caring to buy from StockX and some of these, especially now that StockX, is being outed as selling fakes, right? Now it makes everybody almost say like, why even pay resale price for fakes? You might as well just go buy it elsewhere. And
Yeah,
I think that's also part of the reason, not necessarily just resale prices are crumbling, but the whole community as a whole is kind of crumbling, right? There's not
yeah,
as much of a I don't know what the word for it would be. Maybe I guess enjoyment, gratification of being able to get that sneaker. There's just so much coming out so fast. It's a little
yeah.
hard
I
to
guess that
enjoy
goes
it.
into a bigger issue of like, okay, we're too many releases, and like it's not as fun anymore. But going back to the fake stuff, is like, would you rather buy from a store at a higher price if you could like feel like they are better at authenticating it rather than StockX?
I think if it was a store that I knew and trusted and like I knew who was running it or something like that, or I knew like I could trust where they were getting it from, I would be okay with them. I would more than happy. Like I go shop at Urban Necessities and I shop at some of the online Instagram kind of sellers that are like those very small niche sellers that sell like the high dunks and stuff like that, right? And most of that kind of stuff, you're paying a high tier price because it's a private collector who has all of these stuff. He's had these for years. He's got the evidence to back it up. And I'd rather purchase off somebody like that, even for a regular shoe. I think sometimes rather than StockX, just because I know that I might be able to help somebody else out. That might either be a fellow reseller or just somebody that got a pair and is trying to get rid of them.
This,
Uh,
yeah, I was gonna
Do
say,
you even have other shops that you can go to besides? I mean, you're in a pretty popular area, so do you have
I
anything
mean,
that's not
yeah,
a big store?
there's smaller stores, yeah, but I would rather just like buy off like someone we know from a House of Cards and just be like, okay, I definitely know you get real pairs, and I can like just pull up your Nike order. So why not that?
Yeah, you know exactly where they're getting it from, which is, I mean,
Yeah,
the best part, right? There's no hassle and there's no issue of having to make sure it's legit. You know that as soon as it touches down from Nike or wherever, it's going to go right back to you.
exactly. Have you ever sold a pair on like eBay or something and the person's messaging you like, can you screenshot the order confirmation or something like that?
No, I've never had anybody. I mean, I haven't sold on eBay in almost a year and a half, 2 years. Now that I've moved off to my website, I don't really sell on eBay as much anymore. I did have a lot of people that would ask, if I had multiple pairs, they'd just say like, "Where'd you get them from?" And it's the
Yeah.
sneakers app, right? I mean, they're all from Nike.
Yeah. Do you think people are gonna start asking for receipts like in store? Like, can you show the order confirmation?
I think people already do, and since I run Project Legit Check too, I had people that would show me when they do legit checks. They'd be like, "Oh, but my buddy gave me the receipt with it," and I'm like, that's great, but if I bought this shoe from Nike, got a receipt, and I'm selling it to you 6 months later, I could have easily got another fake in and just put the receipt with that pair and given it to you, right? I mean, there's a difference in having it like on release versus like months later. And especially people, for a long time got those fake receipts. Do you remember those that used to come with the fake shoes?
I remember fake StockX tags. I don't remember fake receipts.
I remember some of them used to come with like fake Foot Locker receipts, and they'd all come with like the same name and stuff on the top of them.
Oh
So
yeah,
that's
yeah,
how
I
I would
remember
always
those.
check it. I'd just be like, "Oh, you got a receipt with it? Is it one of these three names? Oh yeah, how'd you know that? It's a fake." Yeah,
Yeah, I don't know. It's getting kind of
yeah.
tough now with fakes.
I was really hoping that Nike was going to use that NFC tag stuff, but I mean,
Yeah,
there was so much potential that and then they had the whole NFTs, and then they didn't do anything. I mean, I feel
yeah,
like they really
definitely.
had a potential to do something with that.
Yeah, I was hoping they'd do that too. Like, okay, you can scan the code and you can see if the shoe's legit. Or maybe take a page out of Louis Vuitton's book and like have a, or like high-end retail in general, and just like have a serial number or something. They can prove the purchase.
Yeah, maybe like put them on the insoles or something.
Yeah. I mean, people were trying to say like there's a thing you can scan in the shoe that like takes you to a Nike page, like internally, but no one can like tell anything from it. Do you know what I'm
Um,
talking about?
yeah, I think that's the QR code. So
Yeah.
if you scan it, it takes you there. And I think that's something that I'm not sure if Nike does something that can unlock it on the other side or what. But yeah, I've always found that it was so strange that it just took you back to like the regular Nike page. Like, I mean, the reps do that too. So
Yeah,
like, I mean, it's
exactly.
just you scan a QR code and it takes you to the same thing. So it doesn't really make a difference.
Yeah. I wish like we could authenticate through that or something, but oh
Yeah.
well.
And now most of these, I don't want to call out any of the other apps or anything, but I know that, the Check app and the Legit Check app, everybody's eventually after so many orders, now they're starting to have people that are complaining about fakes getting through and stuff. I've seen a couple of the fake manufacturers even brag about getting through Check. So it's scary. I mean, it's like they're making shoes and like being able to laugh circles at the people that are checking them. Is it even safe to get public checks like that anymore? It feels like you just have to, it feels like what Nike's doing. You have to buy direct from the source.
Yeah, exactly. I mean, we'll see how this goes. And like obviously since more like stock is not going to resellers because resell's a little bit more dead, more people are getting their hands on it that actually want the shoe. So
Yeah, especially
maybe,
these Jordan 4 SBs. It seems like a lot of people got them.
yeah, exactly. Like Botters did not hit that many, surprisingly, but we'll see how the other releases go.
Yeah, definitely. It'll be interesting in the future with more spread out raffles and stuff like that. But speaking about some of those boutiques, this was kind of something that has come around a little bit with the recent Foot Locker and Nike, earnings call that we just had recently. But mainly the Foot Locker one is stirring up a lot of talk. A lot of the stores are kind of hitting a weird point where I kind of called it a sneaker industry evolution, almost a capitalism evolution. We saw a pretty good example where Supreme a couple years ago was bought over by the Carlyle Group, and they invested, I think, in 50%, bought them out, doubled their money, and then sold them to the VF Corp. the VF Corp also owned, Vans and everything else like that. And they're now half owning Supreme or fully owning Supreme, and they're trying to, grow the brand even further. Um, Now that I think who else moved? JD and Finish Line merged. Snipes bought Jimmy Jazz. There's a rumor that Kith might end up getting sold at some point. Ronnie's done so much for the brand. I mean, it's crazy. What do you think would happen with these stores? Do you think, I guess, the small owners will move on?
Yeah, I guess so, because I feel like we've already seen like small owners talk about like how tough it is to run a store sometimes because Nike
Yeah,
will give you
especially
like the
in shops.
yeah, exactly. Nike will give you the crap inventory too, and you have to be like sitting on it. Nike was cutting people's contracts for a while, so it's pretty tough, and it might just be easier to get bought out. But I mean, we're seeing stores like Foot Locker now like wanting to close stores, so I think yeah,
Yeah,
we'll
and
see
did you
like
hear about what they're trying to build the stores as?
they were trying to do into like strip malls, right? And like
They're trying to well, at least they were closing Champs in a couple malls, but they were making those like basketball court experience
oh
locations.
yeah,
I don't know
yeah,
if that's
yeah.
what they were calling it.
I
Would you
heard.
would you shop at one of those, or would that entice you more to go into a Foot Locker location if it had that kind of
I
stuff?
think it makes it more interesting, like more worth it to go versus a boutique. But it's kind of like this was a one-time thing, maybe, and then I'd rather shop online after that, right?
Yeah. Yeah, definitely. The first issue I think they're going to need is making sure they get releases that people want, right? We've
Yeah.
got Jordans sitting all over the place right now. That doesn't help anybody to get excited about the product it's uh if it's not really generating the excitement. Not to say, being available is bad, but people want to come in and get something that's like a hot product. It doesn't necessarily have to sell out, but it needs to be a hot product. Um, yeah, I guess my theory with those was that, what if those become the new local experiences? Instead of a mom and pop shop, you have more of I almost called it like a youth club, like a YMCA kind of thing, almost at your Foot Locker. So it's like, oh, you guys could come and like, they could do like teams or something for a release and do like, basketball games for like a basketball shoe that comes out, right? Let's say Nike actually gets more hype behind Nike basketball again. You could put a release behind like, oh, we're gonna give away the number one team that plays in our little Foot Locker local tournament. Number one team, their whole team gets pairs for free, right? You just do
Yeah.
teams for like four or something like that, right? Something fun like that. But you do something with your community and try to make it a lot more local focused and less of these giant, FTLX draws and stuff like that. I think FLX draws,
Yeah, I
all
think it
that
makes
stuff,
it
right?
like a more fun experience, and it's not just like it feels like a cold like version of capitalism. But
Yeah,
I think it's gonna only attract like some people, right? Like some people will still be like, okay, I just want to get sit on my computer and buy it, right? But we'll see. I think my biggest worry is like boutiques like merging and stuff. Like
merging.
Atmos bought Atmos bought Ubik, right? And then Foot Locker bought
Oh,
Atmos. Do you remember this?
yeah. So now we
Yeah,
just
and
have
I
what, these giant mega corps, basically.
yeah, and we were talking
Yeah,
about this earlier.
yeah. You sent
JD
the link to
Sports.
JD. Yeah, and I
Yeah,
didn't
not
even
only do they
realize
own Finish Line, but
it's
they also
crazy how
own like
many.
Nice Kicks, Shoe Palace, and even more, right? So
Yeah,
it's kind of like
size, detail R, everything.
yeah, it's kind of like okay, these are mega corps that own some of these sneaker shops, and it's kind of like I would like to see small creators and like small voices like actually like be able to contribute more to the sneaker community, right?
Do you think that some of these big stores maybe might get phased out and Nike may start offering releases to maybe say small shops that started doing like either reselling or started selling other stuff? I mean, I guess like once all these stores kind of become corporate conglomerates, where does Nike go from there
I mean, I
to
don't
try
think
to touch
so.
the culture?
I think we've seen like Alma Money and like Social Status, those stores like try to
Hmm.
do community outreach. And then recently for All Star Weekend, Feature had like a pop up out there with Nike and the NBA, like as a collaboration. So I think they're still going to go through the same stores, just maybe reaching out to the smaller like contracts they have more.
It'd be very interesting if they did something with the what were the dunks that we just got? HBCUs? Is that what the schools are
Oh
called?
yeah,
Somebody, I was
yeah,
saying that with those dunks, right? We should have had a school specific location, like stash or
exactly. Yeah,
something, right? Or
I was
they
surprised
could
they
have
didn't
done a
do
pop
anything
up
like that.
shop, right? Just showed up with a truck and been like, "Hey, you got a credit card and credit card and a shoe size, we'll get you a pair."
Nike
Or
just needs to
you know,
hire us for their marketing.
I mean, really, that's what like Lois, that reporter on Twitter who I follow now, she was even saying that to Sneaker Fetish was, why don't you make a pitch deck and send it out to some of these brands? What if we made a pitch deck and send it out to Nike like that? I mean, for a lot of people, either listening or a lot of people in the sneaker Twitter community, there's a lot of us. I mean, we've made whole communities, whole groups, whole, bots, all companies. We could probably tell them how to make a better release and how to do something better than any of these people they're paying thousands of dollars to consult for.
100%. Do you think the like? Do you remember the swoosh on Nike thing? Like, is basically an
Oh,
NFT.
yeah, the
Yeah,
DOS swoosh.
yeah, and was it you could make your own like colorways and stuff? Do you think that's
I
enough
don't
for community outreach?
I don't know if it's necessarily make your own colorways. At least like that's what it made it seem like. I think the only thing we've done so far is like vote on what Air Force won in like a tournament similar to that Adidas one, and they were gonna like bring
Yeah,
it back virtually. But um, yeah, I don't really think that. I guess like it's a cool concept, but I think it's useless if they think that people are gonna sit in their room and like collect like virtual Air Forces and stuff like that. Like that's cool, but we saw with NFTs that that doesn't go very far, right? Unless you can bring that into the real world, then it's not as interesting. So like how they did it for the Oregon Air Maxes, the ducks of a feather, um, that
yeah,
was really cool. They made 120 Air Maxes, and I didn't know this, but six people I believe did not redeem theirs, so they actually got their
yeah,
shoes burned on camera.
yeah. The crazy
Um,
part of that was like I barely heard about it. It was like,
Yeah, because if you didn't have the NFT, I mean, like, and you weren't keeping up with it, you weren't really gonna know that it was coming out. Um,
yeah,
yeah, it was. I mean, one, it was also very expensive, so unless you had that NFT money, you weren't really going for it. Yeah, it was super cool. I do hope that they make more stuff like that. I think that that's a very interesting kind of release. That, in my opinion, would have been how Nike could. Maybe we'll put this in the pitch deck for Nike. That's how Nike, I think, could really do something with that dot swoosh. Is what if you buy the Amba Manier ones and I buy the Amba Manier fours, and both of us scan our boxes and we upload that purchase, if you will, to our dot swoosh, right? So now the next time when the trophy room ones come, you are more likely to win it because you've already shown that, oh, you're interested in Jordan ones, right? But then like when the Union fours come, if I was entering for a draw, it could know, oh, looking through your account, right? We see whatever. They say they're doing this already. But you can use this in the blockchain to kind of track all this, and you could verify it all that way. Or you could bring people to like an event. The HBCU one was the easy one that somebody said, and was like, oh, you make people have a student ID to buy one, right? So maybe you could do
yeah,
something of like, oh, if you had this sneaker from like 2008, you can get the retro when it comes out, right? Like if you've scanned it and it's in your log, you can redeem it, and like you get that's how you get EA, right? Is
yeah.
being
That'd
the
be pretty
person who
cool.
had it years ago. Hey, do you need a fresh pair? Here's your EA, right? That, I mean,
Uh,
seriously, like, who's more likely to buy it than the person that had the same shoe 8 years ago and liked it, right? They probably beat their pair out and could use a new one.
but think about like
Half,
the White Cement 3 EA. Like,
uh-huh.
remember like how they announced it? It was like, oh, if you entered for this release in like 2018 or something, right?
Yeah.
And it was just like, okay, most people didn't enter for that. It was just like,
I
I think
I
it.
think that yeah, I think part of that too was they've probably seen so much of a massive growth in the last like 3 years that they couldn't do longer than that. Because then they probably
Yeah,
alienate a lot of people. They already alienated a lot of people. You didn't enter for that release, did you? The
nope,
it
I
was
couldn't.
it the free throws? I think that's what they
No, because I wasn't
was it
into
was
threes
called.
back then.
Yeah, so that's what it was. The threes. Yeah, I didn't. I don't think I entered those either. Um,
Yeah, and
yeah.
then what
So
was it? Was it
wouldn't
the
have got
Off
it.
White 50 dunks? Were those like some weird thing for EA too?
I'm not. I don't know if that was anything special for EA. Though that one was, I think, just completely random.
Yeah.
That one was just obviously random, but then it was even more random on which one you got. There was another release that had something else where it was similar to the threes on you had to have a such an release to get something. Was it one of the dunks? Oh yeah, it was like the Kentucky dunks or something, right?
Oh yeah, yeah, that was
And
it.
it was like you had to enter like 25 dunk releases or something like that.
Exactly.
Or
So they're
yeah,
kind
some
of doing what you said, but they're going by like a
yeah.
different angle where it's like, okay, if you lost a lot, then you can get access. Rather
Yeah,
than
and
like if you've already like hit shoes similar, you get access.
yeah. But I mean, obviously, for the off-white one, we saw that was not true because we know a lot of people that had super old accounts and stuff, or people that had, brand new accounts that had hit. I even knew somebody that got access twice for the off-white dunks.
Yeah, exactly. So
So
it's
it's
like
not a good system,
I
but
think
it's in progress.
I think it's like so many people, you're always gonna have someone upset. But
Yeah,
I think if they went with it like a little bit better approach, it'd be uh not as like upsetting.
yeah, that's very true. So I guess to get our final topic on this out. So with all the stores and Nike, doing the changes and stuff, what's and Kyle was our newest out of our three host members. Kyle's our newest one to the sneaker game, coming in at around 2018, and both of us came in I think around 2016. And what from what we started in to now, what do you think is the next big change? I guess that's going to shift everything for sneakers and stuff. Like, do
I
you
mean,
think, we've already had everything moved to kind of raffle based and things are a little bit harder to get. So what do you think is the next step from here with all these store changes and everything?
I think they might try to like grow the experiences and like events what was the one you were saying? Like Foot Locker, right? They're
Hmm.
gonna try to make going to the store more of an experience, like you do stuff there. I don't know if you've been seeing like if you're on these store newsletters for the boutiques, like they'll have events going on, like workshops or like talks or just like community get-togethers. So I feel like those are gonna become much more stronger, and I feel like that will like help you get the shoe right. Like if they know you're like involved, right?
Yeah, that'd be really cool, especially if they did something in a boutique thing of like a surprise drop where, oh, everybody that came to a local event got early access to a sneaker coming out that weekend or something.
Yeah,
Um,
that'd be pretty cool. But I think like right now we're gonna have to have a little bit of a lull in sneakers where it's a little bit of a recession. Stores are gonna close down. People are gonna lose interest, but eventually it'll come back with something new.
yeah, definitely. And we already know, Champs is going to end up closing a couple stores, and Foot Locker's probably going to be
More than a
opening one more Foot
couple.
Lockers. It's 400.
It was,
Yeah,
yeah.
it's quite a bit. Um, but yeah, I kind of agree with you. That's what I'm really hoping we see the next of is a lot more engagement, I guess, from Nike. Nike has so much like I guess reach to all their consumers, and it feels like they just try to go every middleman route of it, right? Like Nike doesn't want to talk to us. They want to put words in Travis Scott's mouth and then make him say it. So then like he gets the shoe to sell, right? Or like they want, somebody else to say it or somebody else to do this. But, I think if Nike really got behind themselves I guess, and like they're slowly doing that, right? They did their community sneakers events where you can go to like stores and they're doing like as you said, they're doing those kind of boutique events. But when Nike really pushes it and does those with them, I think that really helps bring the experience together. I'm hoping Foot Locker can do something. I did tweet that about Nike basketball needing to make a comeback because really I don't think these Foot Locker experiences will work unless there's shoes that are really going to keep people interested like that. But definitely for like the SBs and stuff, they've already done all these in-store events for so long. I feel like that type of event amplified out is a really good way for some of these newer stores to try to connect to people
Yeah,
rather
definitely. Like
than just
SB culture.
EQL
Oh yeah.
raffles.
Yeah. Like some of the SB stores have like a very strong community presence as well as like skateboarding culture is pretty strong already. So I think like if they take a page out of that book, that'd be really good too.
Yeah, please no campouts, but um, yeah, let us let us do some in-store events or something like that. Yeah, that would be very interesting. I know that, tech companies are kind of hurting right now. I don't know if Nike's included in that in terms of uh job shortages. I know, with BuzzFeed buying Complex, they're cutting jobs and programs and stuff are going out. But maybe it's a good thing and a bad thing, right? During the recession, right? People do lose their jobs and things do change and stuff like that. But maybe at the end of the year or by the end of 2024, Nike will have some new people in management and in place that can help spearhead some of those changes.
Yeah, definitely. Do you think we're gonna see resale stores merge? Like how like Flight Club got bought by Goat or something similar?
No, only because I can't even name on my hand, I think like enough stores that I think are big enough that could be bought out or would want to be bought out. So like a couple of them are so big and have probably an inventory that they could almost be like an equivalent of like a Sotheby's for sneakers. Like Project Blitz, right? I mean they're massive, right? And they're not really meant, I think, to like kind of shop for the everyday kind of person all the time. They've got regular shoes and stuff, but their specialty is their, super limited kind of stuff. I do think that a lot of the smaller stores, like maybe your local mall store, might end up, merging with somebody else, or they may end up getting like bought out. I think
Yeah.
that that's kind of over with, where it's like all these mall stores of like these one-off kind of shops. Like, I think that some of them will do well, but if you're just like a single resale shop and you've got a whole bunch of people around you all selling the same stuff, unless your prices can be competitive and keep you afloat, I do think that some of these shops might end up just combining resources or doing something else like that. Um,
Yeah. Something interesting I've seen is like kind of chain resale stores. So like some of the resale
oh,
stores from California will like expand into Vegas and open a location.
I've seen a couple like that. There's one store on Instagram that I don't want to say their name, but they've got a whole bunch of locations all over the US, they say. And they've got so many locations to the point where like it seems to me like most of their inventory looks like dunks. I mean, I'm sure they've got other stuff, but that's like what most stores have, right? And it's like,
Yeah.
really Panda Dunks aren't really moving like that anymore. And we used to call some of those shops like Panda Express. When those shops aren't really moving pandas anymore, what really happens to them? Do you have shops near you that sell? What do they sell? I guess non-urban necessities. What
Oh
do they
yeah. I mean
sell?
like the nearby stores like that aren't like big. It's mostly like yeah, pandas. Yeezys are still selling, I think.
Yeah, Yeezys
Uh
are actually really high in demand now that Adidas isn't going to drop anymore.
yeah,
People just don't want to
exactly.
pay a butt ton for them.
They have like Jordan ones and fours there, but I don't know how much they're moving. Other than like big colorways like mochas and university blue.
Would you say it's more than 50% dunks, or it's less than that?
Oh, it's like 50% dunks.
Yeah, see that's crazy. And I mean dunks are popping, and I get it, but um, poof. I mean,
So
I don't
I
I
will
don't think they're
say, I
moving
think
that
like
well.
we can't move dunks that well, but like I feel like their market is the people who aren't that into sneakers, so they can just take a dunk that's $100, sell it for 150. They don't even have to try to get it. Really, they just enter on the sneaker
I
apps
wonder if
and
it's
it's
higher than 150 too.
yeah, 100%. But it's like the
Yeah.
people who are going in there aren't that into sneakers where they're like, oh, where can I get it for a cheaper price? They're just picking the one they see and they like it.
So that was something that one of the private selection guys I think said in one of their videos they made about their shop. And that's an interesting thing of I think you said that too of would you pay more if you can walk in and get a shoe? One of the examples that they had was people would walk in and say like, oh, I need a fit for the night out or the weekend, and they want to come in and get a shoe to match. Do you see that happening, or do you hear about people like looking for that and needing a shoe like immediately, and that's why they go to a store?
I mean, I don't know if it's the Gabe on Twitter. Do you see like him posting like I need this size like shipped ASAP, right?
Mm-mm.
For a
Who?
shoe. Gabe, he owns like Request Boutique.
No, I don't think so. I don't know if I follow him.
Oh,
He's buying
but
pairs
anyway,
like that on Instagram.
yeah, it's like I'm sure it's for like a big guy, a big spender celebrity, right? Because they're pretty expensive shoes, but I don't think like people are buying dunks like that. But it's um, I will say that like people like you and me, we're going to a store like we see a shoe and we know the resale value like exactly, right? We know what shoe we
Yeah,
want
true.
and how much it is and how much we're willing to pay for it. Whereas like someone else who's not into sneakers, they see a dunk and they're picking the color they want and they're like, okay, this is a big purchase for them. And it's like an event to go to the store, the sneaker store.
That's true. Yeah, I don't know if that's the Toys R Us for the people of this age, but um, yeah, that is a good point. Do you think that I guess people will kind of phase out having to compare, I guess, because like when you go to a store and you're buying it, you're understanding the price is going to be a little bit more, but then obviously when you go to other places like SneakerCon and stuff, when you've got everybody that knows about StockX, you see the difference of like everybody asking for discounts and everything like that, right?
Yeah.
Where I think definitely at a place that's got resellers and stuff like that, your point was right. People are gonna hassle you about the price versus a store where your average consumer is just an average consumer. They're probably just gonna come in and buy it. Do you think those people even know about StockX or know about other platforms? Or I
I mean,
guess
I think everyone like who's somewhat into sneakers knows about StockX. I think like some people are weary like, oh, I don't like get the system or like I don't know.
maybe
But
they think
like
StockX sells fakes.
yeah, exactly, right? So I
I
think
There
some
was that
people
lady that asked
trust
Kanye if it was safe to buy Yeezys on StockX. Do you
yeah,
remember
so it's
that?
like no, but like uh, that's pretty crazy though.
That was
But
when he was fighting with fighting with Kim about North.
that's funny.
Yeah, that was weird.
Yeah. But I think like people will trust the stores a little bit more. I mean, like trust like these some of these stores more than like StockX if we wanted to make
Yeah,
a big purchase.
yeah, because we knew the person who's been running it or who's behind it and stuff like that. Yeah, yeah, and definitely for some of the bigger and rarer ones, you want to go to a shop or something rather than going to like StockX. Um, I saw StockX try to authenticate a pair of, I think it was a pair of Quai 54 sixes, super rare, super limited F&F. And I think they said like they had an issue with the shoe, and when they sent a picture of it, it was the wrong shoe. It was like the Quai
Really?
threes. So another super expensive shoe, but not the right one.
That's so funny.
And I was like, that's crazy that they almost let that go through if they thought that was something else of an issue.
Yeah, something
Um,
funny. When Urban Necessities was a little bit smaller, we used to like sometimes go into there to get it authenticated, to get a shoe authenticated if we were like buying it from someone,
and they do
which
it.
was yeah, because like one of my friends would kind of be cool with the guys there, so
Oh, okay.
they
Yeah,
would
so you
be
had a
pretty
little
chill
bit of
with
an
it.
in. Nice. Okay.
Yeah,
Yeah,
Yeah.
that's pretty good. I wish shops would do that, but I get it's a it's a risk to them, right? To like if somebody brings in something intentionally trying to fool somebody,
Yeah,
um,
exactly. It's a
you know,
liability.
yeah, yeah, and it is becoming a big issue, and I had issues with that when I was doing like Project Legit checks. Some of the big issues that I was getting was people would kind of push back on me because I would tell them, oh, this is not real, and they'd say like, "Oh, well, my friend sold it to me. He gave me a great price for it." And I'd be like, "Well, you better go ask him where he got it from, because it's not matching the pairs that I've got from Adidas." And yeah, it definitely started bringing up issues, and then like you kind of have people that you run into like the small claim kind of things like that, right? And like you don't want to end up in the middle of that. It just leaves you in a weird spot. And then obviously the person that was selling or something either gets a type of way about it and tries to come after you for it or something else. And it gets you into very weird predicaments. So I get the stores not wanting to do that. Um,
Yeah.
but I'm wondering, I guess, do you think there will be a point where Nike or these brands could push so much um, hesitation out there that these big platforms would kind of fizzle out?
Nah. I mean,
No?
like StockX is never gonna go down unless like
Oh, they're
they
cutting
have to like
jobs.
close. Yeah, but I mean, like we've seen them like put out fake, so it's like they're not like caring, I
Yeah,
guess. So as long
they
as people want to sell and buy, I think they'll still be there.
yeah, and the benefit, right, is there are certain sellers who will always use StockX, right? I mean, that's really how StockX lives, is off what people call the Mickey Mouse resellers, right? The ones who only buy and then just immediately sell to StockX, and um, let alone what that does to the market price and anything else. But that's a person who's, if they're trying to run a sneaker reselling business, you're not doing it very well.
Yeah.
Uh,
We also know some people who like sell bulk to StockX sometimes just because they need to move stuff.
Yeah, and I mean, if you've got something that's like, I mean, that you need to move for the next release or something, I mean, it's handy. It is useful. If I've got a shoe that is in a weird size and nobody around me is interested or something for it, it's easy to put it up there for sale, and try to sell it off through that. I have been trying to use Alias a lot more though now. Um, I actually just got a letter today from StockX saying my seller level was going down, and they were asking me about it, and I was like, I just don't care to respond. Yeah,
Really?
definitely the website is kind of like freeing me from all the platforms. Free plug while we're in here, marchingdogs.com. But I have the podcast on the website now. But
Yeah.
yeah, it's definitely freeing me a lot more, and I mean it's way less fees and everything than any other platform. So I can offer prices a lot lower. So it's nicer for everybody else who's buying, and I get my creative outlet where I can create my website exactly how I want. So that's always nice for me. But yeah, I think that's going to be the future. I see a lot of people ever so slowly starting to advertise their own, either through Instagram or, through a website or something. Because rather than going through StockX and trying to, lose money through fees and stuff, it's pretty easy as if you can establish yourself and then, you know, become a little bit of a local known person. Like you only need 5, 6 customers, right? Or a shop or something, and for you, it's really easy, right? Do you have any bulk stores that you work with?
I mean, no, I can just ship to Urban Necessities and just be like, cool, thank you.
I guess that's true. Yeah, biggest audience in Vegas, so yeah, definitely
Yeah.
an easy choice. Yeah, for sure.
Well,
But I think that kind of wraps us up for today. A lot of future ideas and a lot of possibilities for the future. And although I'm very curious of what's going to happen, I do always hope for the better. So hopefully Nike and StockX will get through this and we'll see kind of a revival of the sneaker experience that we had back in the 2015, 2016, 2017 time when everything was really booming. Thanks again for listening. If you've listened this far, don't forget to give us a rate on Apple Music, Spotify, and on YouTube. And don't forget to subscribe and follow for more episodes. Thanks for listening. Bye.
Bye.